Welcome back. So, in my last episode, I brought you something inspirational. I encourage you to dream big, go for big goals with the Brene Brown warning that you can't avoid criticism and you should go for it anyway. So I would put that last episode in the category of inspirational because Brene Brown is awesome. Today is going to be a longer episode and it's going to be a lot of teaching. Some concepts you may have already dabbled in or you might know them very well. Other concepts I hope will be new to you, so grab some tea and settle in because here we go. Today I want to talk to you about a book that's near and dear to my heart. It really was foundational in changing the way I think about things. I read this book almost 20 years ago. It is Noah St. John's first book, and I asked him the other day how he feels about it now 20 years later, and he said he's very proud of it. And I said, good, because it really changed my life. I read this book when my son was 2 or 3 years old, at a time in my life when I was writing a lot. I never did finish the book I was working on at that time, or any book, and I've started a few, because I still had growing to do, and ultimately I got in my own way. And I haven't had the urge to write in many years, and so I'm actually in inquiry about whether or not that's because I got in my way so much that I've talked myself out of the desire to be a published author, or I really just want to do other things. Actually, I did become a published author last year. I wrote a chapter in this awesome book, The Power of Coaching. But I used to really want to be a novelist, so maybe one day. I'm thrilled that my son is a born writer, and I can't wait to see where that takes him. Anyway, I honestly believe that this book helped me be the kind of mom that my son needed, so that he wasn't playing small, so that he wasn't denying any parts of himself, and he could be whoever he was meant to be on this earth, without limiting beliefs. And I'm sure he still has some to discover, but I did my best because of my awareness to make sure that he knew he was capable of anything. So, really brief story about my kid. As I mentioned, when I read this book, he was about 2 or 3, and it was around this time that he started asking me to tell him stories at bedtime instead of reading him books. So I would say, okay, let's see here. Once upon a time, and I would fumble along trying to come up with something new every night, which is not easy for me. And at some point, early in the fumbling, he would say, that's not how it goes. And I would say, then you tell me a story. And he would say, no, you tell the story. So this happened a few times, and finally he was like, okay. And he completely took over story time, as well as car ride time, and meal time, and any time he had an idea, which was all the time. And to this day, he still tells me what he's working on. Over the years, his stories have gotten way more sophisticated and complex, obviously, and he's a really good writer. But he is a born storyteller. Like, his brain cannot not make stuff up. So between Tony Robbins and this book that I'm about to tell you all about, I was prepared to launch this kid into the life he's supposed to be living instead of the life that way too many of us have, which is, I want this goal, but I don't think I'm good enough. I want this dream house on the beach, but I don't actually believe I can have it. So this book is called Permission to Succeed, and basically what the author discovered is that many of us have limiting beliefs about ourselves, and all of those beliefs fall under the umbrella of we're not giving ourselves the permission to succeed. For Noah, it was this sneaky belief that he wasn't supposed to be more successful than his parents. So he actually asked his dad if it was okay for him to be more successful, and that unlocked something in him that gave him permission to write a best-selling book and become a successful coach. For me or you, our limiting beliefs might be totally different. Most of us have that voice that says you're not good enough to do that, that's not going to work. It would be much better if you just didn't even try. Why is this the human condition? Because we are wired to not take risks. The voice is trying to keep us safe. But when we become aware of that voice, we can say, thank you for looking out for me, but I got this. It's like I always say, and this might be hard to hear. Everything you have in your life right now is exactly what you believe you deserve. You may think you deserve it all. Sure, I deserve a house on the beach, to travel at will and be paid handsomely for my talent. But if you want and don't have those things, it doesn't matter what you think because that's your conscious mind. Your subconscious beliefs are what are holding you back from having those things. Your subconscious doesn't believe you're worthy, that you deserve it, or that it's possible for you to have, and your subconscious is always in the driver's seat. So that, in a nutshell, is why you don't have the things you want. We have to get to the subconscious level and change our beliefs, or nothing out there is going to change for us. And I will probably say that again and again in this podcast show channel, whatever we're calling it. But what I want to bring to you today are 3 key concepts that I hope will change your thinking the way it changed mine almost 20 years ago from this book, Permission to Succeed. So let's dive in. First, Mr. St. John likens our subconscious beliefs to a funhouse mirror. Our subconscious beliefs are so powerful that we don't even realize they are there. We actually have to go look for them. We have to ask ourselves the right questions in order to find out exactly what they are, and that's really the fun part about personal growth, is having those aha moments when you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I never knew that, but now I know it. This is amazing! And that's when you get to make different choices for yourself. So anyway, I really love how he talks about, suppose you were in a fun house with those wacky mirrors that make you look 8 feet tall or 3 feet wide, distorted basically. Quote, when you walked into the fun house, did you actually become 7 feet tall or 2 feet tall? Of course not. The reason that you look distorted is because the mirror you're looking into was designed to make you look that way. That is, someone designed the mirror to do that. Is it the mirror's fault that you look like something you're not? No. Again, someone designed it to do that. Is it your fault that you believe what you see? No. It's not your fault either, because all you're doing is interpreting those images of light that you see. Therefore, no one is really at fault in this situation, end quote. So you might be thinking, what does this have to do with subconscious beliefs? Well, Noah asks, quote, what if, for some reason, you forgot what you really look like? What if you had only ever seen yourself in a funhouse mirror? What if you'd never seen what you actually look like, that is accurately reflected in a regular mirror? And if this had happened to you, what would you be forced to believe about yourself? End quote. So we take on those beliefs about ourselves at a young age, and that's all we know. We have all these limiting beliefs because they formed in the mind of a child, in the mind of someone who had no worldly knowledge or experience or other input to contradict what it was believing. And trust me, at that age, we make a lot of wrong conclusions. The other thing I will add is that our brains like to know things. So if our brain doesn't know something, it will fill in the blanks. We see this a lot in witness testimonies. So if we didn't have adults around us feeding us positive messages consistently, we were left to interpret everything around us on our own. The problem with that is that before about the age of 9, human beings really think the world revolves around them, and everything is about them. It's just the way we develop. So around the age of 9, we finally understand that other people have different experiences, different perspectives, different opinions, and different emotional reactions to things. But before 9, we are a hot mess. We are interpreting everything as being about us when really, think about your parents' personal struggles. Maybe they went through a divorce. One of them was an addict. One of them had anger management problems. Both of them had no emotional intelligence. Whatever. Hopefully you know now that none of that had anything to do with you. But as children, we take what other people are doing and we make it mean things about us. Mommy must act like that because I'm not good enough. Daddy does that because I'm stupid. The list goes on, and it's all happening subconsciously. So once we become adults, it's really our job to undo all of this. So if you haven't yet done the work, as I say, or you're not familiar with this field, stay tuned because I've got so much good stuff for you coming up. And right now. So let's continue. So if you had only ever seen yourself in a funhouse mirror, you would think that that's what you look like. Of course you would. Without any contradictory input, you wouldn't know any different. So if you have limiting beliefs around how successful you can become, or simply that you just can't be successful, it's not in the cards for you, you're not good enough, you're not talented enough, you don't have what it takes, life is too hard for you, it's just not possible, that is what Noah calls a negative reflection, and it leads to success anorexia. Because you can't see an accurate reflection of what you're really capable of and who you really are. So your negative reflection is the part of you that believes the worst things about you, and your authentic self is who you really are. Beautiful and smart and talented, compassionate and loving and forgiving, kind and nurturing and adventurous and passionate and strong. It's who you were when you were born, before all of the negative messages or messages you misinterpreted got dropped into your subconscious one by one. Like my son, who was 100% born to write. If a writer's life scared me as a mom, I could have squashed that in him. I could have given him messages like, you'll never succeed at that. Writers are always broke. A writer's life is hard. People don't respect writers, etc., etc. And the next thing you know, I'm taking him to therapy and the doctor's putting him on medication because he's depressed. And I'm wondering why my son is depressed. Hello? And let me tell you, even though I never said a negative word about being a writer, only positive, he came home one day and told me that he was going to major in history and become a history teacher because he needed something to fall back on, because what if writing didn't pan out? My reaction? Who told you that? Where have you heard that? Who do I have to beat up? So my point is that even in the best of circumstances, and yes, I am the best mom, we end up with limiting beliefs. And in chapter 6, Noah covers the 7 most common lies we tell ourselves and how to overcome them. These lies are essentially limiting beliefs, and there are way more than 7. If there's one thing that human beings know how to do, it is self-sabotage with limiting beliefs. So here are his most common 7. You're never going to make it. Nobody likes you. Everyone would be happier if you weren't around. If you want something for yourself, you're selfish. And since it's wrong to be selfish, you shouldn't want anything for yourself. Since you didn't make your parents happy or keep them together, you don't deserve to be happy either. If you weren't perfect, you'd get what you want, but since you're not, you never will. No matter how smart, clever, pretty, funny, charming, etc. you think you are, you'll never succeed. Success is only for other people, not you. Some of these are really sneaky. Some of these are so deeply ingrained, they just feel like that's life. And you've never questioned it. As Noah says, what we believe about ourselves is true for us. I remember when I first discovered a limiting belief of mine and realized that it's not true, it's just a belief. I was blown away. It feels so real, like that big house isn't for me, that's for other people. I could never be a writer, dancer, singer, CEO, speaker. Only really smart people or brave or lucky people can do that. Nope, not true. If there is one other person that looks like you, comes from where you come from, has a similar situation, whatever, and has achieved something that you want to achieve, that's your proof. You can too. Also, the way that these are worded might not feel like they fit. Like, no, I don't blame myself for my parents' divorce. Or link that to, they weren't happy, so I shouldn't be happy. But until you really dig in there and ask yourself pointed questions, you never know. It's worth exploring. We all have these voices, messages, putting us down, telling us how fat, useless, unworthy we are to have X, Y, and Z. I told you I was going to ask you to be daring. Put in the comments below, what do your negative voices say? And what are you going to work on changing so that you can achieve your big dreams? One of my biggest ones is that I can't have the relationship of my dreams until I lose weight. Yeah, I could probably find someone to be in a relationship with, but historically speaking, none of my relationships have lasted. Obviously, I'm still single, so therefore it must be because I'm too fat. That's always my default, even though I'm keenly aware of it. I know it's ridiculous. I look around, I see all kinds of people getting together, having great relationships. It's just I was very much raised in a culture that said skinny is better than fat. So I'm working on it. I really am, and I will tell you how in another video. So Noah's suggestions on how to defeat the negative reflection are: 1, what would you tell a friend? Why are we so nasty to ourselves when if a friend came to us and said, I'm so this and I'm so that and all these negative things, you would say, oh my gosh, girlfriend, no, you're amazing. That's not true at all. That thing you said, no, no, no. So why do we believe it about ourselves? Number 2, he suggests you take a piece of paper, make 2 columns, and on the left side is your negative reflection, and on the right side is your authentic self. And you're just going to spill everything. Write down all those nasty things you say to yourself. And on the right column, you write down the truth about yourself. Even if it's hard, and you feel like you're bragging, and you feel embarrassed, and you feel like you should be negative to yourself, because we've all been trained not to brag and not to be conceited and, be humble, and none of that is serving us. So write down all the things you know are awesome about you, because they are true. How do we know that they're true? I will add a suggested exercise for you. Imagine yourself as a newborn. Would you ever look at a baby and say, what a bummer that you were born stupid, with no talent and no potential, and a life that's just going to be terrible? You're so cute, but sorry, that's your lot in life. No, you would never say that to a baby. Well, guess what? That baby is you. That baby was and still is you. You still have everything you need to make your dreams come true right now. You're amazing. You're beautiful. You're smart. You have talent, and the world is ready to co-create all of your dreams with you. So understand, the bully in your mind is not you. If you can begin to see those things as separate, the real you and the bully, you can ignore the bully. But actually, I suggest you listen to the bully, because the bully tells you exactly where you need to grow and what needs to change. If the bully says, you're so dumb, I can't believe you did that, then we know we have to work on a subconscious belief that says I'm stupid. So it's full of information. It's just not full of encouragement or the truth. It's all lies. So at least when you know that, you can ignore it, or you can begin to train yourself to ignore it and tell yourself the truth more often. Okay, deep breath. You're doing good work. Great job. I'm not going to go into it, but in chapter 7, he talks about the disguises of success anorexia. I told you these limiting beliefs are sneaky, very, very sneaky. That is a great chapter. Okay, now's the fun part. The second half of his book is dedicated to the solution to this problem that we all have. I really hope you'll get the book. There are myriad suggestions and exercises. He explains about goal-free zones and goal replacement surgery, 2-a-days, and he loves to tell us the Latin root words, which I think is so fun. So it is robust with all the things you need to begin this journey of overcoming the negative reflection, the limiting beliefs, the ugly messages. The link for the book is below. And I'm super excited because I'm going to share with you 2 things that changed everything for me and have stuck with me all this time. Okay, the first highlight from this book that has stuck with me and that I still use to this day, I have actually used it quite a bit on the tennis court, and I'll get to that in a minute. Affirmations. I'm so excited about this because it's just so brilliant. The reason it's brilliant is because it really highlights the way our brains work and how we can use that to our advantage and finally go around some of the subconscious BS that's working against us in the background. I mean, our subconscious never sleeps, so we really need to make it work for us, not against us. What is an affirmation? You've all heard of affirmations. You say positive things to yourself and you hope eventually you believe them. Well, that doesn't work because our subconscious is in charge. Yes. If you have learned nothing else today, know that. So I'm going to quote the book because Noah explains it best. Quote, "The process of thinking is really nothing more than asking and answering of questions. For example, suppose I asked you, why is the sky blue? What would happen? What would happen is that your brain would say, the sky is blue because..." The one thing your brain can't do is not try to find the answer to the question that is presented to it. End quote. You may not know the answer, and that doesn't even matter. This is the exciting part. Our brains are hardwired to go look for the answer if it is asked a question. Are you asking yourself right now if I'm right? Well, if Noah's right. Our brains are always working. Remember I said we need to use the subconscious to work for us, not against us? One way we can do that is to ask ourselves empowering questions, as opposed to, why are you so dumb? Or how could you have messed that up again? And guess what? Those are actually negative affirmations. So you've been doing it all along. We all have. And those questions have been shaping our lives. Something has to give right now. An affirmation is an empowering question to which the human brain must try to find an answer. And yes, they're incredibly simple to use. It's just a matter of using them and remembering to use them. So here's how I use them on the tennis court. I'm playing tennis and I hear my mind say, man, my forehand sucks today. Well, you know that's only going to create a reality that my forehand is just going to continue to be terrible all day. I mean, we don't want to put that out into the universe. So I would remember Noah and I would ask myself, why is my forehand so on point today? Why am I so good at crushing these forehands? And lo and behold, my forehand would improve. I kid you not. You see, the brain assumes the question is true and goes to find the answer, the evidence that it's true. And that is a mic drop moment for Noah. That is magic. At the end of this video, I'm going to put up some positive affirmations and I want you to start using them. You don't have to believe them. Your job is never to answer the questions. Just ask. Your brain will do the rest. At first, you might feel silly, maybe like a poser, but after a while, you might find your mood lifting a little bit. You might start to feel more confident if, for example, you ask yourself, why am I so confident? Or energetic if you ask yourself, why do I have so much energy today? Don't overthink it. Just ask the questions and go on with your day. Okay, the last thing I want to share with you is this. The ocean doesn't ask permission to make waves. and neither should you. Sometimes I go to Santa Cruz and sit on the beach, and I just watch the ocean for hours. It reminds me how insignificant my first world problems are, but it also reminds me that we are here for a reason. Each and every one of us is here to show up authentically and follow our passion. What else is there to do? Like my son, if he tried not to be a writer, he would wilt and die, which for humans looks like depression and health problems and anger issues and so many things. Can you imagine if the ocean just stopped making waves? There would be mayhem and panic. It would be all over the news. Scientists would come together. What are we going to do? What's wrong with the ocean? I, for one, would be extremely upset if I couldn't go to the beach and hear ocean waves. That would very negatively impact my life and so many others. So get out there and make some waves. Let's see what the critics say instead of worrying about what the critics will say. Be bold. Go get the dreams you deserve. Follow your passion. The reason that you're here on earth. Not everybody makes it. It's a privilege to be here. So go. Don't let anything stop you. And go get the book. The link is below. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I love you.